What if we lived in a world without recessions? A world where markets grow freely and effort was truly rewarded? What if prices, interest rates, and innovation all followed real signals, not political commands? Why then do governments keep deciding what interest rates should be, how welfare should work, and how the economy should run? Decisions that always seem to end in crisis. What if I told you that these failures aren't accidents? They're inevitable. And what if there were a better way? The Hayekian way. Not a stranger to adversity, F.A. Hayek built one of the strongest economic frameworks of the past century. Yet today, his name is rarely mentioned outside of academic circles, and his theories remain thought experiments for a better economy that never came to be. Growing up in socialist Austria, Hayek saw firsthand the failures of central planning and the danger of political control over economic life. He dedicated his career to explaining why these systems break down and how markets, when left to coordinate freely, could achieve what planners never could. Joining the Austrian School of Economics, Hayek refined and expanded its ideas into a complete theory of capital, prices, and information, a framework that challenged the economic mainstream and continues to do so today. In 1945, Hayek published The Use of Knowledge in Society, the essay that broke the foundation of socialist planning. His point was unlike anything ever heard before. No single person, or even group, can ever possess the knowledge required to plan an entire economy. He wrote, "It is a curious fact that this sort of knowledge should today be generally regarded with a kind of contempt. Even economists, who regard themselves as definitively immune to the crude materialist fallacies of the past, constantly commit the same mistake where activities directed toward the acquisition of such practical knowledge are concerned. Apparently, because in their scheme of all things, all such knowledge is supposed to be given." Hayek recognized what few others did, that information itself is a social process. It isn't stored in any central mind or database, but scattered across millions of people, each with local knowledge of time, place, and circumstance. It is this dispersed knowledge, coordinated through prices, that allows society to function at all. To believe that a government or committee could ever plan an economy is to believe that this information could be collected, interpreted, and acted upon faster than it changes. Logical fallacy. That, Hayek argued, is why central planning must fail. But how does this point connect with numbers? That is what comprises economics after all. In 1931, Hayek published Prices and Production, work that would turn economics on its head. In it, he explained the Hayekian triangle, the logical basis for all of his theories. His triangle explains that in any given temporal span, interest rates dictate investment spending, as they are directly correlated with consumer savings. He continues that any artificial change in the interest rate creates mistimed investment, known as malinvestment. The malinvestment occurs from the misinterpretation of savings, shown by the interest rate, resulting in companies investing more or less than what is demanded by the consumer. This malinvestment, he argues, inherently leads to a recession, as the excess or shortage of goods forces an immediate pivot for any given company, massively shrinking production ability in the short term. For a given economy to avoid recession, it must follow the principle of the Hayekian triangle, summing the area at a consumer-demanded rate to properly time investment spending. Hayek's work wasn't purely economic, though, as a doctor of political science. His work was best represented in his most famous book, The Road to Serfdom. In it, he dives into the social consequences of socialist policy and the exchanges of power that occur in a socialist state. Because no one can know enough information to properly plan an economy, Hayek argues that the resulting decisions will be arbitrary and politically charged, not economic. Moreover, he explains that any government-funded welfare, which is inherently socialist in nature, will inevitably hurt those who take advantage of it, as relying on the government for help results in a power exchange in which the government can control you, as you rely on it as a means of well-being. Welfare, as decided by individuals of their own goodness, is a good thing. However, welfare as a mean of government aid and eventually control will result in the loss of choice. Hayek's true worry wasn't an inefficient economy. It was the loss of choice that would occur after politically charged economic decisions force a never-ending spiral of dependency upon everyone in this economy. Hayek never wanted anything more than the betterment of people. As a Nobel Laureate, his work defined the path for a future-looking economy to succeed. Away from the fallacies in Keynes' ideas that artificial rate adjustment is good, Hayek showed a path forward that didn't lie in immediate gratification, but one that provided long-term safety and prosperity for people and the economy. Though many failed to recognize him in his time, Hayek was a genius, whose ideas remain relevant today as ever. So whenever you hear about new economic policy, ask yourself, what would Hayek think?